Welcome to the Capital Exchange. I'm Steve Wilbur, Managing Director at Allen Capital Group.
And I'm Travis Portwood, Chief Investment Officer with Allen Capital Group.
Travis, there's been an extraordinary amount of stimulus injected into the economy by the government and the Federal Reserve, accompanied by the shortage of supply, which has stoked fears of inflation. So let's talk about what this means for people.
Yeah, Steve, the downside to robust economic growth is inflation. And inflation is emerging as a primary risk to markets beyond COVID because inflation generally leads to higher interest rates, and higher interest rates can lead to lower equity prices. A year ago, we had an economy that was shutting down. We were hemorrhaging jobs, consumer demand was wiped out, and businesses were limiting production. Rightfully so, they didn't know what to expect moving forward.
Yes.
A year later, we have a widespread vaccine distribution, which is leading to strong consumer demand, robust economic growth, and now businesses can't produce goods fast enough.
Yeah, Travis, the large economic growth is driven by the stimulus. We've had stimulus, and we had some stimulus in 2020, and now we've had even more in 2021. The American Rescue Plan is worth $1.9 trillion.
Wow.
$1 trillion of that is being distributed over the next few months, and $164 billion was distributed directly to the U.S. consumer. So the amount of money in people's hands today is vast. And from previous stimulus packages, because of the lockdown, they've saved all of this. When you combined all the pent-up demand, and now when you combined all of that, I should say, you have a consumer that is wanting to spend aggressively.
Yeah, flush with cash. And that strong demand has disrupted supply chains. Supply chains are complex systems, and complex systems are susceptible to disruption, right? A few examples. Let's start with lumber. So at the beginning of the pandemic, sawmills were shutting down. But then people were in lockdown, and they started to do home improvement projects. You did one. You built
I built a storage underneath my deck,
right,
for the lake toys.
And then I built some furniture to go outside. Couple that with low interest rates and tight housing supply, and that drove people to new construction. So the demand for lumber outstripped supply to the point where since last spring, lumber prices have gone up 180% or more. Semiconductor chips are another one. Semiconductor chips are the brain of most electronic devices. The work from home environment shifted consumer preferences. Demand increased for computers, mobile phones, TVs, and cars. Manufacturers were caught off guard. They ramped up, their orders for chips, but the supply wasn't there because even the producers of chips couldn't make them fast enough, even when they got their facilities back online, because demand had shifted so much that they needed to make even more. And last one I'll talk about is plastic. So Texas was assaulted by a winter storm in February.
That was painful for a lot of people.
And that took chemical plants offline, and it's going to take a while to get those chemical plants cranked up to full production. And without chemicals, you can't make plastic. And what do we use with plastic?
Well, TVs, cars. I mean, it's used in everything.
Yeah. So a chain reaction of small events viewed in isolation, you might ignore, but done at the right time, in the right order, compounds into the chaos we see in supply chains today.
Yeah, Travis, and the Fed isn't worried about inflation in this environment. Chairman Powell has repeatedly expressed that the slack in the system with the high unemployment and the economic output isn't even at pre-pandemic levels, is it?
No, it's not. But the Fed believes that once the boost from the stimulus wears off and that slack in the economy is tightened, our economy will begin to approach, pre-pandemic levels of output, and then inflation will subside. That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I sure hope he's right.
I hope he's right too.
Travis, this has been great. I look forward to it next week.
I look forward to it as well.